This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, a dangerous drive, a country joyride.
Once you start sliding on gravel, that's it.
Leaves a girl pinned beneath a wreck.
If they'd had their seatbelts on, could have been a complete different story.
Plus,
a lot of stress associated with the job.
An air traffic controller collapses with planes in midair,
His heart was stopped.
leaving thousands of lives in jeopardy on Rescue 911.
On August 6, 1993, when 12-year-old Holly Valbrock came over to 14-year-old Ann Stedham's house, they had planned nothing more ambitious than hanging out together. The girls often spent time with one another, so Ann's mother, Sharon, thought she had no reason to be concerned.
Annie and Holly are good friends. They like to do a lot of things together. This particular day, they got it in their head that they were just going to take the old car parked out by the barn to return some clothes that belonged to a neighbor. And I said, no, Ann, I'd rather you didn't.
I wish she would just let us go. My mom, her no's are usually like, no, you cannot do this. But that day she was kind of lenient about it. She said, no, but it's your responsibility.
So you're taking the blame.
Just
if we
get
in
in.
trouble.
Ann would not be old enough to get a license to drive legally on the roads for 2 more years.
Oh, awesome.
We just drove around for a little while. Hollywood asked to drive, and so we switched back and forth. Since we had driven before on the farm, we didn't think it was any big deal.
John Valbrock is a reserve officer with the local police department and 12-year-old Holly's father.
It's legal for them to drive them in the pastures, but they're not supposed to get them out on public roadways. Unfortunately, you get 2 kids together, and sometimes it's what one doesn't think of, the other one will. And once you start sliding on gravel, that's it.
When we get to her house, she's gonna freak.
Hey, that'd be cool if we could meet Brandon and Aaron up at the lake.
Oh my gosh! What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
It's hard.
Oh my God!
When we continue,
You could just see the car clear over in the ditch, upside down. The top was all mashed in. And I thought there's no way that girl could live. I figured it just crushed her.
I remember waking up,
Holly!
not really knowing what had happened. And I just started yelling Holly's name. She couldn't answer me.
Holly! Holly!
I was afraid to see what had happened. So I squeezed out of the back window. I just took off running. I thought she was dying. I thought she was dead already.
Charlene Anderson lived in the next farmhouse down the road from the accident.
I heard somebody holler.
Somebody help me! Help!
The Stedham girl was in my front yard, covered with blood. You could just see the car clear over in the ditch, upside down. The top was all mashed in. And I thought there's no way that girl could live. I figured it just crushed her.
Within minutes, Chillicothe Fire Rescue arrived at the scene, including paramedic Jim Saylor.
My partner got out, and I took the ambulance on down.
You okay?
There was a lady with the patient down in a ditch. You couldn't see the face, you just could see the back of the head.
Okay, hi, my name's Holly Valbrock.
The lady said, "This is Holly Valbrock," which was kind of a shock at first. I knew Holly.
I'm Jim.
I've worked with her dad for several years.
Take care of you, okay? Where you hurt?
Her right arm was trapped up under the car. So I reached in under to feel what kind of problem there was, and you could tell there was massive damage. At that time, I didn't know whether the arm was actually still attached or not.
Holly's father, John, and her mother, Teresa Calvert, went to Hedrick Medical Center when they were notified there'd been an accident.
Fractures and lacerations in the...
We kind of started hearing these reports that, you know, things didn't sound so good.
Patient, Holly Valbrock.
When they did give her name, I looked over at Amy and Teresa, and they were both panic-stricken, and just, it was just like the whole world just stopped.
Doing all right? What we got?
We needed to lift the car far enough where we could get the arm out. Holly was scared, she was hurting. There wasn't a lot of bleeding because the weight of the car put pressure onto the wound. But we didn't know, exactly what was going to happen when we lifted the car off.
You grab that arm. Help me bring that out. Okay, good.
There was massive damage to the shoulder area. Part of the bone where it fractured was sticking out. You could see the ball in the socket.
This may hurt a little. Watch your head.
We kept telling her not to look at it. Don't look at the arm.
All right, we need the collar on. Get that arm.
I didn't think there was any way that they would be able to save that arm at all.
Anne had suffered only a slight concussion as a result of the accident.
You could hear him talking back and forth on the radios, saying everything that was wrong with her. They were telling me to quit crying.
You remember what happened?
But I couldn't because the radios were saying that it was worse than they thought. And I'm the one responsible for it.
It was kind of sad because if they'd had her seatbelts on, it could have been a complete different story. Holly may not have been injured at all.
What happened?
The attending emergency physician, Cal Greenlaw, happened to be Holly's doctor and a close friend of the family.
When they brought Holly in, it was really difficult. The emotions that you have that you just don't dare let loose is tremendous.
Dr. Trinidad and meet you down here right away.
By the look on the doctors' faces and the nurses' faces, of course, it's being a small town, we know them all, and you could just tell that it wasn't very good.
You okay?
I finally got to go in and see her. This seemed like forever. And Holly's such a neat kid. The first words out of her mouth was, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry."
Holly was taken by Research Eagle helicopter to Lutheran Medical Center, more than 200 miles away, where a team of microvascular surgeons led by Dr. Jay Goldberg would try to save her arm.
Some irrigation, please. Her skin had been torn off from about this level on the arm. All of the muscle on the top of the arm was exposed. Scissors, please. The nerves weren't severed. So there was a chance that some of her function would come back. But at the same time, there was a good chance that even if I could reestablish blood flow into her arm, that it may still not work, and that she still may lose the arm.
Over the next 2 months, Holly underwent a series of operations to try to repair her damaged right arm.
She made remarkable progress in the hospital. I believe it was a week after her first 2 surgeries that she put a pen in her hand and she wrote, "Hi, Mom." And it was so cool. We were so excited.
The top mark today.
And from then on, it just seemed like she could do a little bit more as each day went by.
How many times? Keep going.
9 months after the accident, Holly continues to undergo physical therapy.
She is doing great. She has full feeling in her arm and her hand, and she can move it, full movement. The only thing she can't do is she can't get her arm completely straightened out.
Ah, you better step on me, Holly.
It was a hard recovery for Ollie. She's probably one of the bravest people I've ever seen.
There were times when the therapy was really frustrating. There was quite a bit of pain. When I look back to that day that we got in the car, I just think to myself, why didn't we just stay home?
She doesn't know how to use the oven. They were baking bread.
Holly's back to her normal self again. Guy crazy. She tries to be cheerful if you're down, and she always cheers you up. She's my best friend in the world.
Oh, look at you.
I think we've become better friends over this. And we just like open up to each other and tell each other everything. Anne feels bad. Like it's all her fault. I think it was just an accident. But I wouldn't get myself in that situation again.
I woke up in the middle of the night sometimes in a cold sweat thinking of what if. I don't know if I could have made it.
Hi, Holly.
I just can't imagine life without her. She's a great kid.
Next.
Do you hear me?
Jimmy is definitely in distress, but we can't stop what we're doing. There's too many people up there.
Roger, reduce airspeed to 190.
At around 8 p.m. on May 5th, 1993, the skies above Seattle, Washington were filled with aircraft approaching and departing from SeaTac International Airport. In charge of the air traffic controllers that night was Ed Gass. Ed was about to face a deadly situation that he had never before encountered in nearly 30 years in control towers.
Tunnel 35034, Seattle, Roger. Turn left heading 360, vectors ILS runway 13 right, final approach course.
360 on heading.
Aircraft are coming at the radar controllers from virtually all points of the compass. Their job is to position the aircraft so that ultimately the airplanes end up one behind the other in an orderly fashion and land one at a time. They depend on us to provide safe instructions. There's a lot of stress associated with the job.
Dick Bobb was the traffic management specialist on duty that night.
I was roaming the room, constantly checking the controllers and making sure that they didn't need help and the traffic was manageable.
Jim Knox was controlling all aircraft approaching from the west.
I commented to Jimmy about wouldn't be too many more days and he wouldn't have to do it anymore because his retirement was pending.
That's a day, right?
You'll be all right.
Harbor 312.
Jimmy's like a brother to me. We've known each other a long time, 18 years. We work together, and our kids grew up together, and we're damn good friends.
I basically was wandering around the room and noticed that Jimmy had his head down on the console.
Is traffic that slow, Jimmy?
I suppose what I really wanted to believe is that Jimmy was playing a practical joke on me, pretending to be asleep.
Jimmy.
There's absolutely no response.
The other approach controllers on duty that shift were Mike Callahan and Sue Hoover.
Jimmy is definitely in distress, but we can't stop what we're doing. There's too many people up there.
Mike, pull in Jimmy's frequency and sort out his traffic. I'm not sure what he has.
At that point, I realized what my job was, make sure that the airplanes don't run into each other.
Call 911. I think Jimmy's had a heart attack.
Anybody know CPR? Oh, I do, but it's been a while. You're out of here.
She plugged into my spot and took my traffic over immediately.
Okay, try to get some air in him. I'm not sure if he's got a pulse or not.
I was nervous because I'm not sure if I remembered the numbers right, how many breaths, how many compressions, what do I do first?
So I gave him a couple breaths. And I was checking for a pulse at this point. Didn't find anything. It just sunk in more that really what was going on here. His heart was stopped.
I can't feel anything.
I was concerned because Jimmy's life literally was in the hands of a couple of amateurs. We hoped we were doing the right thing. We had no assurance whatsoever that we were.
Within minutes of the call, a SeaTac airport rescue team arrived, including EMT Michael Mandela.
The entire fourth floor is FAA controlled. No one has access, not even the fire department. Just so happened that a port police officer heard the tones and called the elevator for us. When the fire department gets on scene, we have no qualms about letting anybody know that we're in charge and that they need to get out of our way to do what we need to do. In this case, that wasn't the case at all.
Our radar scopes are meant to be observed in the dark, so consequently you turn the lights on and it kind of bleaches everything out. So that didn't last long, of course.
Now it's becoming more and more clear to us we're going to have to do something a little bit differently here. For all intents and purposes, this patient was dead, but bottom line is there's thousands of people in the aircraft, and the priority is the safety of the 1,000.
I was hoping they'd defibrillate him one time and then they'd have a heartbeat, but it didn't work. They did it once, again, didn't work. So at that point, I think I couldn't watch anymore.
Not getting anything. Continue respiration. Continue CPR, please.
Sailor 192, contact Seattle Tower now, 119.
Little more than 10 minutes after Jim's heart attack, a King County Advanced Life Support Unit arrived at the scene, led by paramedic Steve Marth.
Okay, guys, what do we got going on right here?
The people that we meet when we walk in the door are asking us if we could move the patient out of the room. And my response, I told them, was, right now our patient's straddling the fence, and until he puts a foot down on one side or the other, we're going to have to work on him right here. I started an IV and started pushing some lidocaine so he wouldn't refibrillate on us.
Still in BF. I'm clear, you're clear, everybody's clear. Okay, recharging.
Patient converted.
Go ahead, check for a pulse.
We had to shock him a couple more times ourselves to get him into a heart rhythm that would sustain a pulse and a blood pressure on his own.
The scariest thing was watching him roll him out of there and wondering if I'd ever see him again. If I'd ever have the Jimmy that I knew.
"55-year-old Jim Knox was taken to Highline Community Hospital, where his wife Jane joined Dick as soon as she heard what had happened.
She said, "How's Jimmy?" I says, "I just saw him in the emergency room. He's unconscious, and doctors think he had a heart attack." And she broke down, and I gave her a hug, and we cried together.
It'll be okay. I was terrified. Here's a man who's the strength of the family we all look up to, and it was just terrifying to see him down like that.
He can hear you.
You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. If I lost him, it would have been.
See what we got as far as heart function.
He was put under the care of cardiologist Curtis Burnett.
In this case, we basically are in a supporting function. The work to save his life happened out in the field, and that we're there to get on with doing what we can to prevent it from recurring.
Jim subsequently had a device implanted that automatically delivers an electrical shock to his heart anytime it stops beating. 5 months later, he is enjoying the retirement he had been looking forward to.
Right now, I feel great. I don't feel any different now than I did before the incident occurred.
He's doing very good. He just probably can't climb any mountains or jump out of airplanes or anything like that. We were very fortunate.
The survival rate for cardiac arrest in Seattle is more than 5 times the national average, perhaps because all of their firefighters are also trained as EMTs, and a very high percentage of the population has taken CPR courses.
According to the doctors, if he had not had the immediate CPR, he would have either been dead or brain damaged. Period.
I'd like to say to those people that were directly involved in keeping me alive that I can't thank you enough.
Give me the ball. Somebody run. Run, 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 run.
We've become almost inseparable. We simply just enjoy each other's company.
Go, go,
and he's my life.
Run!
Mr. Shapiro, step out of the car, please.